Hey everyone, it's Charlene. I am going to give you a look today at the December Scrapbook and Cards Today sampler, and I'm going to show you how to make 5 different cards. So in this sampler, we have several items from Doodlebug Design and from Close to My Heart. First, there you saw we have a Doodle-Pop cardstock sticker, and then we have several bits and pieces and odds and ends from the Doodlebug collection as well. This collection is called Let It Snow. In addition to that, you're going to see we have a mini icon sticker sheet. Now, those little acrylic shapes are from the Deck the Palms collection from Close to My Heart. And then we have several pieces of patterned paper from both collections. You'll see there that was the Little Garden silhouette stamp from Gina K. And then for the paper, for Doodlebug Design, we have Holiday Dots, Frosty Floral, Merry and Bright, Oh Christmas Tree, Let It Snow, Candy Cane Lane, and To and From. And then for the Deck the Palms collection, it's just an assortment here of the double-sided patterned papers. So this is a really cute collection, and we are going to get to make 5 cards. Let's get started. Throughout the cards today, I am going to be using the Simon Says Stamp Stitched Rectangle die. So you're going to see a lot of my panels are going to be cut with that. Here I cut out that polka dot panel, and now I'm just going to adhere it to a base panel that I cut from red cardstock, and that's just some cardstock that I had in my stash. So I have cut that red cardstock so that there's a very thin border around the sides, which makes a really nice frame when you're putting it onto a white card. So now I'm going to adhere that to a top folding US A2 size card that's 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And once I have that done, you can see from that same red cardstock, I went ahead and cut out a sentiment with my die cut that says Happy Holidays. Now, those are up at the top. That die is not included in the kit. That is a separate die that was designed by Doodlebug. That was part of a Crop and Create event, but I thought it went together really well. So I always like to layer up my die cuts. So I do layer these with 2 layers. If you really want to add some extra dimension, you could add even 3 or 4 layers to your die cuts, and it looks amazing. So I finished those up off camera, and then I just glued them there to the side of my card panel. When you have big sentiments like this, don't be afraid to put them on their side when you have a vertical folding card. They still look adorable. You don't have to have them reading across your card from left to right. So once I have them where I think they should be, I'm going to go ahead and adhere this tag, and I am going to make sure to leave a little bit of space between the stitched border area and the tag because I don't want to cover that up. I want to keep that cute little stitched detail there. Once I have that where I like it, I'm going to go ahead and I am going to adhere that adorable little Yeti, and I'm using some foam squares from Thermoweb for this. I generally don't like to use foam squares, but when I am popping up something that I can't use a die to cut from EVA foam, I will use the squares. And then I'm just using a little tool to help me remove the release paper. Once I get all of those off of there, I am going to dot the tops of those foam squares with some glue. That gives you just a little bit of extra time and wiggle room to make sure that you get it placed exactly where you want to on your card. I find that to be really helpful. I'm using some art glitter glue there, and I'm coming in. I'm going to get him placed just on there how I like him, and he does cover up the happy a little bit on the side there, but I think it works. I think it's still really cute. So I also die cut these cute little snowflake pieces, and that is also from that Crop and Create set I have. So I put 5 of them on the card, and I'm also using a little bow that I die cut from the same Doodlebug set that I have. And I've just used the red cardstock, and I'm going to go ahead and use, when you have like a little bow die like this, use some type of round tool like I just did there to help you curve the cardstock. That way you don't get little wrinkles and things like that. And then when you're adhering it all together, because I know there's several different kinds of dies like this, I suggest using your reverse tweezers to hold the glued part in place until the glue dries. It makes it much easier than you're not just sitting there holding it with your fingers, tempted to let go and check. Off camera, I did cut out a little piece of the blue paper to wrap that around the bow because I thought that would look nice to have the contrasting color from the red. So I'm just placing that there on my card. You could pop this up with foam tape, but I thought the sides of the bow had plenty of dimension. Such a cute card. I love how it looks. And on the inside, I added a little strip there along with a cute little sticker. So moving on to our second card, again, I've used the stitch rectangle die to cut out a panel, and then I am using the remainder from that beautiful pattern paper, and I'm using a strip of that is cut to about 1.5 inches to go ahead and put across the top of my card on the opposite side. So I'm using the polka dot side to run across the panel. If you're enjoying this video, please do hit the like and subscribe buttons as well as the notification bell. It helps my channel and it helps me to bring you more wonderful videos. Okay, back to the card. I'm just going to go ahead and trim off the extra piece and then we'll have a straight line along the edge of the card. You can also do this with scissors, but I have this adorable little mini trimmer that I keep on my desk that I like to use when I can. So off camera, I also cut out a circle using the Simon Says Stamp stitched circle dies, and that's where I'm going to put my sentiment. Once I get that down on my panel, I'm going to go ahead and use my MISTI to stamp the sentiment. And you can see there I used some grid paper that is on a clear sheet, and that's from Simon Says Stamp as well. And it's super helpful for lining up your sentiments when you have kind of a precarious card like this where you're trying to get it perfectly aligned into a circle like that. I'm using Intense Black ink from Simon Says Stamp. That's my go-to ink, and I am double stamping just so I can make sure I get a really nice dark stamping. Coming in, I'm going to go ahead and now adhere that panel, and I'm using again a USA2 size card base. Got that down on there, and then I couldn't resist this adorable Doodle-Pop cardstock sticker of Santa. I thought this was so adorable. I sat there staring at it and just, it's so cute. I love it. So I'm going to get him down on the card, and then I'm going to add the present from that little set as well. And then I'm going to take the little heart sticker there and I'm going to put it on the circle next to my stamped Merry Christmas. Now that Merry Christmas stamp also came from that same Doodlebug set that I received at the Crop and Create. And that Crop and Create was through Scrapbook and Cards Today. And they have, I believe, 2 every year. They are amazing, so much fun. I highly recommend checking it out if you are able to do something like that. So I'm coming in here and I just put down some enamel dots from Ranger in white, and I put those around on various spots on the little pattern paper just to add a few little bits of dimension here and there. Super cute. Love this card. I think it's adorable. All right, moving into our third card. Again, I've cut my panel with that stitched rectangle die, and this pattern paper is so cute. I love the little penguins and the polar bears and everything on there. So I'm going to adhere that on there, and you're going to see I did something that I think is kind of fun. I kept from that other sheet of paper where I cut out my panel, I kept the outside area because I wanted to use that as a frame for this card. So I'm going around with some dot runner here, and then I'm just going to kind of puzzle piece that over the top of the piece of pattern paper that's on my card base. I'm just going to line it up and kind of pop it around the edges and smooth it all down. Then when I get done, I can just go around and trim off all the excess from my card. Again, you can use scissors or some kind of mini trimmer or even a full-size trimmer to accomplish getting off that extra bit there around the sides. I think this type of frame looks so cute, especially when you used a stitched die like I used, because you can see the stitching on both parts, on the outside of the main center panel and then also on the frame panel that you have on there. Now I'm going to go ahead and pop up this cute little snowman piece of ephemera that came from the kit, and you just want to make sure when you're putting these type of foam squares on that you get some good coverage, and that also any little areas like his little hand there, you get some coverage on, because otherwise you're going to get kind of a smushed card. So I went ahead and adhered a small rectangle of the striped paper onto the card as well. And now I'm adhering this acrylic word joy that came with the set to my card. And the way I'm doing that is I took a piece of double-sided adhesive and I put it on there, and then I just kind of tore off all the adhesive that was around the word joy. Now, I recommend using Stick It adhesive sheets if you're going to do this rather than the scrapbook.com ones. I love those, but they didn't work real well for this. And I actually broke my joy, but once I got it down on the card, you couldn't tell. So that's why I cropped that part of the video up. But coming in, I'm going to pop up these other cute little pieces of ephemera on the card. And there it is. I'm going to open it up. I'm going to put a couple of cute little stickers on the inside. I figured since I had that coordinating kind of snowflakes on the front that were the little pieces of ephemera, that it would look really nice to have those little snowflake stickers on the inside as well. So there's our finished card. Really adorable. I love how that acrylic word looks on there. If anyone has ideas on how to do that without using a double-sided adhesive sheet, I would love to hear it. I just didn't think that glue would hold really well. The adhesive sheet did hold very well. So coming into our next card here, I just have a piece of Nina 80-pound cardstock, and I'm doing some ink blending. I'm using broken china and cracked pistachio, and I'm only going up about a third of the way up the card. And then I'm going to go ahead and stamp the Hello Friend sentiment as well as the little flower patch from the Gina K design stamp set that came in the sampler. And I'm actually using Distress Oxide to go ahead and stamp this. I do find that the black soot actually stamps fairly well. It's not my go-to black ink, but if I'm stamping over other Distress Oxide, I like to try and use the black soot. I think it works pretty well. And now I'm using that cute little firefly and butterfly that came with the set. I just have those set up, and I'm going to come in and stamp again with the black soot and get those down on there. Now I know a lot of people don't like to stamp with Distress Oxides, in part because they kind of have a chalky look to them. But my solution for that is to use microglaze, which works really, really well. Once your panel is fully dry, you can see I've cut it with another one of those stitched rectangle dies. You use the microglaze and you just kind of get a decent amount on your finger and you rub it around all over on the card, making sure you got everything covered. And then you buff off any of the extra with a paper towel. This sort of brings the ink to life. I don't know if you guys can see it real well in the video, but it really brightens all of the ink and it looks gorgeous in person. It kind of has this very faint shine to the panel. So I've cut out a piece of the pattern paper with a stitch rectangle die from the Close to My Heart collection, and I'm going to go ahead and put that on. I thought this coordinated really well with those Distress Oxide colors, and so I'm going to put that down, and then I'm going to go ahead and pop up my ink blended panel. I'm using a piece of craft EVA foam that I cut off using my trimmer, and then I'm just adhering that with some dot runner. And then again, I'm going to put some dot runner on the back of it and adhere it to my card. This works really, really well. I prefer to do this if I have a larger space, and then I don't have to worry about my card kind of getting smushed. So I'm coming in here lastly with some liquid pearls, and I'm just putting a couple of dots around on the card. I think this just adds a little bit of glam, I guess, to the card. And I really like how it looks having that shiny kind of pearl color in contrast to the black ink. I think it looks really nice. I did decide to go in and also put a couple of little drops there on those two flowers in the bottom right. I thought that added an extra little touch. And then from that same piece of pattern paper, I cut a little strip to put on the inside of my card, so that way the inside of my card kind of matched the outside of my card. I'm trying to get better about this. A friend of mine, Yvette, has all her cards, she always does these beautiful insides, and I tend to just leave mine blank. So I am definitely trying to make sure to put some cute little accents on the insides of my cards. It's really not that much work, and it adds so much to the card, I think, when you open it up and it has a little coordinating piece. So there's our finished card. Moving on, we are going to our fifth and final card here. I've cut out another stitch rectangle using a stitch rectangle die, and I'm coming in with some Kitsch Flamingo Distress Oxide. And you can see what I did there is I took a piece of Post-it tape and I just put it down on the bottom because I'm creating a mask. So wherever that Post-it tape is, none of the ink is going to transfer. Now I did make sure that my panel was good and dry before I moved on to this next step, and I actually forgot to use my anti-static powder tool here, which made things a little bit more difficult for me. But make sure you use an anti-static powder tool. And then I came in with some Versamark embossing ink, and I'm double stamping here with that embossing ink, and then I'm going to use some Ranger Super Fine Detail embossing powder in black. I'm going to just make sure to get that all on the card before I take off my Post-it tape strip. If you get bits and pieces of embossing powder in places you don't want them, you can use a flathead dry paintbrush like I just did there. And I did spend a little bit more time off camera cleaning up the panel because, like I said, if you don't use the anti-static powder tool, it tends to go everywhere. But once you get all the little extra pieces off, come in with your heat tool and you're just going to hold it on the embossing powder until it turns shiny and is melted. And then once you're done, it is gorgeous. It's just so shiny and beautiful. I love, love, love how that panel turned out. So onto the card, I am using a piece of the Close to My Heart pattern paper. This paper is so cute. I had such a hard time deciding which piece and what side to use because they're just so adorable. But I ended up deciding to do a very small frame of the white and pink polka dot paper. You can see there I ran out of my dot runner, so I switched over to my G&K Connect glue. I like to use both of these to adhere panels. I think they both work equally well. And so I'm going to put my main panel down on that polka dot piece of paper. And then off camera, I did cut out this piece of craft EVA foam. And I'm going to use that to pop up this panel on top of my main card panel, the background panel there, with those adorable little flamingos. And I was kind of sad that I had to cut off some of the flamingos, but I was able to incorporate in the inside of the card with this matching strip of that pattern paper. These flamingos are just adorable. Like I said, I had a hard time on one side of the paper. The flamingos have little Santa hats and presents and things like that, and they're so cute. But I was trying to make a non-holiday card with this card, so I chose the side that didn't have the Santa hats, but they are still very cute. And now I'm coming in and just trimming off the edges of the paper there. I do like to make sure my strips are longer than they need to be, so that way I can just trim them off, because it's better that it's too long than too short. Off camera, I added a couple of spots of black enamel accents from Ranger, and there is our final card. All right, guys, I really hope you enjoyed this video. Again, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and I will be back soon with another video. Thanks. Bye.